Right, the Gibson Les Paul Studio 50's Tribute is not to be confused with the Les Paul 50's Tribute. I will explain more. Let's have a listen to it first and I shall tell you what I can. Let's go. So pickup time certainly, and let's start with the bridge P90. In the noisy or distorted setting. Into the centre. And onto the neck. Well, it certainly says ooh, doesn't it? Right, let's see how it cleans up. And starting again with the bridge P90. Lovely, into the centre. And onto the neck. Let's have a look round. Yeah, so they sound pretty good, don't they, those P90's? I'm rather fond of those. And although, and again you'll see from the photos back here, that although the P90's don't have Gibson engraved onto the backplate, the Gibson one, not all, but it's a reasonable litmus test, most of the Gibson P90's, but not all, have the corners cut off, and that's the only way that I can identify them, apart from of course they have that braided wiring. So yes, and you can also usually tell from the power output whether you've got a Gibson P90 or not, because they usually pop it, and they're very, very reliable like this. They're usually popping out the very, very late 7s into the very earliest of 8s, usually between 7.8 and just really 8 and a bit. So weight wise, as you can see, they're almost 3.5 kilograms, which is £7 10 ounces or thereabouts in Church of England. And like I said, don't get these mixed up with the 50's Tribute, which came out in the last 2 years of the Studio 50's Tribute production. I know it's confusing, isn't it? So this is the Gibson Les Paul Studio 50's Tribute. And the way that it differed from the Gibson Les Paul 50's Tribute is like this. Well, for a start, these were only made from, or these were made, I should say, from 2010 till 2015, whereas the Tribute was only made for the last 2 years of that production, so from 2013 to, actually from 2012 strictly speaking, but it was a 2013 model up until 2015 when they finished it off for whatever reason. Known best to themselves, probably got bored I suppose. So let's have a look at this one. So this is a 2011 model, as you can see by the serial number there. I think you might even say 2011 on the back of it. And this one has got the Gibson Deluxe Cluson style vintage tuners with the green tombstone keys, whereas the 50's Tribute, that isn't a studio, comes with either mini button Grovers, or some of them came with that Mini E tune, the early version of the G-Force system by Tronicle. So you've got a mahogany neck set into a mahogany body, so that's the same for both of them. And you've got a rosewood fingerboard with trapeze inlays on it in, you know, acrylic or perloid. A pair of P90's with a nice scratch plate, stocktail and tunematic, and the knobs were different on the Tribute, whereas these has got the vintage top hats with the thumb bleeders. I like the thumb bleeders, that's a nice touch. Of course, they're not really thumb bleeders anymore, they're nice and softly rounded off at the top instead of those horrible tinny little sharp things that were well named as thumb bleeders. So you've still got a maple cap, and the difference in the wood grain is blindingly obvious on these. And these came in you had a few extra colour choices, or I should say when the Tributes came in 2013, you had reduced colour choices. This is in, I think, the vintage Honeyburst, which is very, very easy on the eye. It's a lovely, lovely colour, and there's a nice bit of figuring in that grain on the maple cap there. I'm rather liking that. Of course, you can see it's a split maple cap. You can see the line down the centre there. So yeah, all in all, a very, very lovely guitar. And I suppose that really in some ways Studio is a bit of a funny name to give to anything that's supposed to be from the 50's, because of course Studios weren't made until 1983, but hey ho. I suppose that Studio just indicates that it doesn't have, you know, binding and other stuff that the standards would have. And the other thing that they reckon is that it has a typically 50's shaped neck. And this is just Gibson for you, isn't it? Because I was always under the impression, and have certainly played 50's models before, that said that a 50's neck, and certainly felt like a big old baseball bat, like on those LPJs. But this certainly feels more like a 60's neck. It's kind of slim. It's not SG slim, but it's just a very medium C profile, neither chunky nor skinny. I don't think that would offend anybody. But yeah, all in all, look at that. We've got a vintage orange toggle switch tip there to complement the 50's look. Yeah, so cream pickup covers and cream scratch plate. I like a scratch plate, you see. I like a scratch plate. So it's a very, very nice instrument indeed, very pleasing on the eye. If you're on the lookout for one of these, you're going to look for the usual things: breaks, cracks, dents, repairs. Make sure that although you shouldn't really have any problems with them, strictly speaking, or any problems that there are will always be obvious. And this is always the area where they get it. If they've been dropped, you always see that shark tooth crack that they get. So just always, it's just a place to always look for. And I don't think that these were really copied by the Chinese manufacturers, so you should be pretty safe with these. But and again, Gibson things to look out for are posts in the tunematic as opposed to screws, and what else? Just make sure the name's spelled correctly on the headstock there. Right, so that's it from me in the 50's tribute. Thank you all ever so much for tuning in. I shall look forward to seeing you on the next one. So it's adios amigos. Ta-ra.